Have you ever wondered if AI can help you farm in Manor Lords? Farming in Manor Lords is something I always wonder about, especially how to optimize it. Sometimes it feels like too much work for too little reward. The heavy plow helps, but I still need to find the right balance. I also want the farming to run on its own, without too much micromanagement. And then, ChatGPT O3-Mini was released. I wonder if it could help optimize my farming. But before actually running the simulations on ChatGPT, I needed some basic data. So, I ran an experiment with 4 fields, all same size but different shapes, and tracked the days needed to plow, sow, and harvest. And here's the results. For 1 Morgan field, it takes 22 days to plow, 26 days to sow, and about 20 days to harvest. Also, field shape doesn't really affect efficiency unless it's something really odd. Larger fields are actually less efficient. A 0.5 Morgan field is the best size for plowing with a heavy plow. And workers are unpredictable. Sometimes they just stop working and go home for a few days, slowing everything down. My biggest concern is that in 30 days, one family can harvest about 1.5 Morgan of land. Since I'm using 0.5 Morgan size field, that means the most they can harvest is just 3 fields. And it takes 30 days, which is the same as the harvest window. So it's a really close call. Considering that villagers might sometimes go home for a few days, we might not be able to harvest all of the fields before the crop rotation cycle triggers in the 1st of October. Okay, but for now, let's run the simulation first and see what we have. So I gave the O3-Mini model the basic framing mechanics. Harvesting must be done in 30 days before October 1st. Plowing and sowing must be done within 60 days, that is between the October 1st and the November 31st. If not finished, then winter comes. The ox plow is operated by an unassigned villagers, not a farmer. This means plowing and sowing can happen at the same time except in the first cycle. I also let the ChatGPT knows about how the workers and the oxen move. So it starts with the first field, the ox going to plow it. When it's done, farmers start sowing it as the ox move to the second field, so the plowing and the sowing is done at the same time starting from the second field. When the second field is done, the ox move to the third field while the farmers move to sow the second field. This keeps everything running smoothly, more or less. I turned that into a prompt for ChatGPT, and here is the result. The maximum number of fields is 3. The 4th field actually missed the deadline by just a few days, which is disappointing. Because if I have 4 fields, then it would fit well into the 3-field system. But since I couldn't harvest them anyway, because one family of farmer can only harvest 3 fields, I guess it didn't really matter. But it got me thinking, what if I added another family? If I could just expand to 6 fields with just 1 ox, then I can set up a 9-field configurations in which the crop rotation will actually work. Time to run the simulation with this very simple prompt. And here's the result. With 1 ox and 2 family, the maximum fields that can be done is 4. Which is a bit disappointing because I doubled the number of families, but the number of fields that can be done only at 1, which is not exactly very efficient. Not to mention that workers is more valuable than oxen in Manor Lords because it's easier to get ox than to get workers to move in, and also we don't have to feed the ox. Considering the result of the last simulations, I guess the ratio of 1 ox, 1 family, and 3 fields is the most efficient. Now, at this point, you might be wondering, 3 fields don't exactly fit within the 3-field crop rotation system. To make it work, we'd need 2 plows, which means 2 farmhouses, 2 families, and a total of 9 fields. That way, the 2 families can work on 6 fields, while the other 3 are left to follow. Now, the only thing left to do is to test it in the game, so this is the setup. 2 farmhouses, each with a heavy plow upgrade, 1 family in each farmhouse, and 9 fields of 0.5 Morgan, with 6 being planted and 3 left to follow. On my first attempt, only 1 worker was in the field, and I realized I had raised my militia and both the father and the son were away fighting, so I had to disband my militia and try again. After rerunning the experiment, the workers finished plowing and sowing in about 50 days, which is a bit too close for comfort, But in 6 run, it only failed 1 because the ox needed to rest for some reasons, possibly a bug or just the unpredictability I mentioned earlier. When it comes to harvesting, the results varied. Some years the farmers harvested all 6 fields completely. In others, the last field was only about 90% done. If you want a perfect harvest, you could set 2 of your fields to be 0.4 Morgan and make sure they alternate between years. And again, that's the kind of micromanagement I was trying to avoid, even though you only have to do it once. But even if you run out of bread, you can always tell your villagers to eat cake anyway. So that's it, the most efficient configurations when you're using a heavy plow. Just make sure you set the crop rotations as such. For field 1, 2, 3, it's plan, plan, fallow. For field 4, 5, 6, it's fallow, plan, plan. And for field 7, 8, 9, it's plan, fallow, plan. Any other configurations will also work as long as only 6 fields are being worked at the same time each year. Also, you have to make sure that the work areas of both farmhouses cover all 9 fields so that the farmers can work together. However, if you don't have enough fertile land for 9 fields, then 1 ox, 2 families and 6 fields as shown in the simulation is a good compromise.